Queen Lili'Uokalani, the beloved and dignified final monarch of the Hawaiian Kingdom, ascended to the throne in 1891 following the death of her brother, King Kalakaua, making her the first and only woman to rule Hawaii as its sovereign queen. Born on September 2, 1838, she was a gifted composer, scholar, and deeply devoted leader who sought to restore power to her people through a new constitution that would have strengthened the monarchy and reduced the political influence of wealthy American and European businessmen who had long manipulated Hawaiian governance. However, her efforts were met with fierce resistance, and on January 17, 1893, a group of American sugar planters and businessmen, backed by United States Marines from the warship the Boston, staged a coup and forcibly overthrew her government, placing her under house arrest within the very walls of Lili'Uokalani Palace, the magnificent royal residence that had served as the seat of Hawaiian power since 1882. President Grover Cleveland, upon learning of the illegal overthrow, condemned the action and attempted to restore Queen Lili'Uokalani to her throne, calling the coup a serious act of wrong. But Congress refused to act, and Hawaii was eventually annexed by the United States in 1898. Queen Lili'Uokalani lived out her remaining years in quiet dignity, continuing to write music and advocate for her people until her death on November 11, 1917, at the age of 79. As for Lili'Uokalani Palace, it was stripped of its royal furnishings, used as a government office building for nearly 80 years, and later restored and opened as a museum in 1978, standing today as a powerful symbol of Hawaiian sovereignty and remembrance. Please see the actual photographs of Queen Lili'Uokalani, Lili'Uokalani Palace, and President Grover Cleveland included on screen for historical reference. When King Kalakaua died on January 20, 1891, while visiting San Francisco, California, the throne passed to his sister, Lydia Lili'Uokalani, who became Queen Lili'Uokalani, the first woman ever to rule the Hawaiian Kingdom in her own right. Her ascension was not sudden or unexpected. She had served as heir apparent and had extensive experience in governance, having acted as regent during her brother's international travels. Lili'Uokalani was a woman of remarkable intelligence, artistic talent, and fierce dedication to her people. She was a gifted composer, and her most famous composition, Aloha Oe, remains one of the most recognized Hawaiian songs in the world. She inherited a kingdom under enormous pressure. American sugar planters and businessmen, organized under what was known as the Missionary Party and later the Reform Party, had already forced her brother to sign the Bayonet Constitution of 1887, a document that stripped the Hawaiian monarch of most executive powers and significantly reduced the voting rights of Native Hawaiians and Asian residents, while expanding the political influence of wealthy white landowners. Queen Lili'Uokalani refused to accept this diminished role for the monarchy. She moved quickly to draft a new constitution that would restore power to the throne and re-enfranchise Native Hawaiian voters. This bold move was precisely the trigger that her opponents had been waiting for. On January 17, 1893, a group of American and European businessmen, sugar planters, and lawyers, calling themselves the Committee of Safety, executed a carefully planned coup against the Hawaiian government. They were supported by a company of United States Marines who landed from the warship the United States ship Boston, anchored in Honolulu Harbor, under the command of United States Minister to Hawaii John Stevens, who had been actively conspiring with the annexationists. Faced with armed soldiers positioned near the royal palace, and fearing that any resistance would lead to bloodshed among her people, Queen Lili'Uokalani made the agonizing decision to surrender her authority. However, she was careful and deliberate in how she framed her surrender. She did not yield to the Committee of Safety. Instead, she surrendered under protest directly to the United States government, explicitly stating that she was yielding to the superior force of the United States of America and trusting that the American government would investigate the illegal actions of its representatives and restore her to her rightful throne. A provisional government was established, led by Sanford Dole, and the conspirators immediately sought annexation by the United States. President Grover Cleveland, upon reviewing an investigation conducted by former Congressman James Blount, concluded that the overthrow had been illegal and that United States diplomatic and military personnel had acted improperly. Cleveland called the action a substantial wrong and attempted to restore the Queen to her throne. But the provisional government refused, and Congress declined to act on Cleveland's recommendation. Queen Lili'Uokalani's suffering did not end with the overthrow. In January 1895, following a failed counter-revolution by royalist supporters, she was arrested, brought to trial before a military tribunal, and convicted of misprision of treason, meaning she had knowledge of the uprising. She was sentenced to 5 years of hard labor and a fine, though the hard labor sentence was never carried out. Instead, she was imprisoned in a single room within Iolani Palace, the very palace where she had reigned as queen. During her imprisonment, she was pressured into formally abdicating the throne, which she did under duress in an attempt to secure the release of her imprisoned supporters. She was eventually released under house arrest and later received a full pardon. The question of crown lands became one of the most enduring and painful legal disputes arising from the overthrow. These were approximately 1 million acres of land that had been set aside for the Hawaiian Monarchy and the Hawaiian people under the kingdom's constitution. When the Republic of Hawaii was formed and subsequently annexed by the United States in 1898 through the Newlands Resolution, these crown lands were transferred to the United States federal government without compensation and without the consent of the native Hawaiian people. Queen Lili'Uokalani spent years fighting in American courts to reclaim these lands, arguing they had been illegally seized. She never succeeded. After annexation, the lands were transferred to the territory of Hawaii, and upon statehood in 1959, a portion was designated for the benefit of native Hawaiians, though disputes over their management and the fundamental question of native Hawaiian sovereignty continue to resonate powerfully to this day.